All right, what's up? What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate it. In case you haven't noticed already, um, I'm getting over a little post-event illness, if you will. I thought about calling the stream, but the new set, like I can't not talk about it, right? It's like they made her into a set, so we're gonna push through, right? It's what we got to do. So if you hear me sniffling and stuff, I really do apologize. I'm on the tail end of it, so hopefully it also happened during travel and nobody else got sick that I came in contact with. Hopefully it didn't happen. But overall, had a great weekend seeing everybody. It was a great time. And yeah, we're gonna go over exactly what's up, Breezy. Good to see a fellow Roomblade player. I'm going to be telling you exactly what you probably should and should not be picking up. Of course, this is all speculation, but I have a couple cards in mind that I think are going to be very, very important, to say the least, and some that are going to be not important that everybody thinks is going to be important. Channel Mal Heroic. Spoiler alert. So yeah, I'm going to start things off by saying congratulations, Evan, for taking that event down. Getting second and then getting first is like, it's the coolest story you could have ever written, right? Congratulations to Will in the chat, teammate, top 8. Always love to see it. Back-to-back top 8s at pretty big events, right? Pro Tour and then Nats. For the TheCardGuyz, we had Josh obviously in top 8 of the Pro Tours. So continuing that train going. Hopefully I can snag one here soon to keep the momentum going. Or Ed, if he's going to the next one. And then, yeah, so we have a couple things that we wanted to talk about. I wanted to take a second to first we're not going to spend too long in the meta. I think Josh did a lot of going over the kind of post meta situation. I just wanted to take a second and explain how right I was in predicting the meta with my tier list. Just wanted to spend 2 seconds on that real quick, because you guys know that, like, if you want the right tier list, you come here, right? Simple as that. Because I want to show you something, right? I'm going to go ahead and let's show it on the screen, right? This is the tier list that I made 3 days before this set even released. Okay? And if we go to the Metagame Minute and you were to add up all these top 8s, 24 total top 8s, my top 5 heroes comprise 22 of the 24 top 8s. The only 2 were 1 KO and 1 dash, but my top 5 heroes encompassed literally like 93% of the top 8s. So like, I think the tier list was perfect if you swapped to Levi and KO. I think if you made that one adjustment, it would literally have been like perfect. Kasai was even a contention up there for a lot of people, but she won the PTI event on Friday. So like, I mean, we just killed it, right? So prediction was on point. So basically, what kind of happened? Because we had the foresight of the event, right? We kind of like accurately predicted what was going to be showing up. And, well, what happened, right? Because it's hard to hit a moving target. But you got to ask yourself, if you don't hit a target that's kind of sitting still. Yeah, a lot of people said I was psyoping, and I said Zen was the best deck, and I brought Zen. Funny how that works. Can't say the same about other tier lists, but we're gonna leave that there. A couple other things. Congrats to Michael Dalton. Ever since I played him around 13 at the first US Nats, I knew he was gonna get up there eventually. I just knew it. So, and to do a 3 Art of War turn while you're up there is something else. So congratulations, Michael. Super happy for you. I still remember that story when we sat down and registered each other's deck at the second US Nats. Me and Michael got a long history at US Nats. um, Congratulations to you as well for making top 8. It's awesome. And then Aaron Grace, of course. We spent a lot of time with Aaron and Taylor Crawford and his crew. So great to see. And then Bryce took down the Battle Hardened. That's awesome as well. We got Julian not having to draft, makes top 8. We all knew it was going to happen. Made top 8 in the calling because he didn't have to draft. So congratulations to Julian as well. Yeah, anybody that had a big weekend, congratulations. Also, Thomas in the Discord from over there from Siblings and Cardboard had a really great weekend with Riptide. Really, really killed it. So congrats to him as well. Not so much to Damien because it's Damien, but So that was kind of. I ended up bringing Zen. I thought it was the best deck. Turned out it was. And we brought a little different of a take than most other decks. We kind of like took a Katsu approach. Turns out it wasn't quite as effective as it should have been. Just on a consistency basis, it was very powerful. It did the Katsu thing. There were just some hands where you drew more than one whelming, and you kind of asked yourself, what does this really do? But overall, it was a deck that did a powerful thing when the thing happened. And even when it didn't, it did a normal Zen kind of situation, right? But we ended up making day 2 of Nats, but the losses were early, so we chose to play the calling. We barely didn't make day 2 of the calling because we had some consistency issues within the deck. I then played the Battle Hardened and went closer to something that Evan was running and went 7-2 and got 18th. So I think that it was a consistency thing, not really not really that much anything else. Yeah, it was great to meet you as well this weekend. Thank you so much. Thank you to anybody that came up and said anything. I really do appreciate it. It means the world. Especially Clay and his brother. That was just a blast. Clay, walked up to me and said thank you for the content and all that stuff, and then we ended up playing a game during the calling. It was a bunch of fun. Thank you, Clay, for all of that. It was a blast, absolutely a blast. And then another funny story. Tarek posted on Twitter the draft, the fantasy draft for U.S. Nationals, right? And there was a player named Hayden that took me, I think at the end of the second round, part of the fantasy draft. He drafted me. And we end up playing at the Battle Hardened. And I sit down at the table and he goes, hey, I drafted you for the fantasy draft. You didn't do too well. I was just like, damn. It was funny, but I won that game. It would have been a lot less funny if he said that and then beat me. So, I apologize for knocking you out of top 8 of the Battle Hardened and messing up your draft. I apologize for that, Hayden. But on a serious note, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for the trust. I'll try to do it better next time. But I appreciate it. But it was funny nonetheless. It was actually hilarious. So yeah, overall, fantastic trip. The event ran well, no complaints, no nothing. It was a solid event. When I was playing in the Battle Hardened, Taylor walked over to me at the end of one of my matches and said, there's 2 new rune blades, not 1, and it's all around earth and lightning. I said, bro, you're memeing. Like, there's no way. There's no way that LSS made a set that, like, if I was like just the most selfish person on the planet, I would make it, right? I was like, there's no way that's happening. And he pulled up the video of Brian talking about it and everything. And I was like, holy shit. They made a Briar set. And it just, from that moment on, the weekend just like took off, and it was Um, I don't know. It was kind of surreal. Uh, to be honest, I kind of understand how mech players felt when Bright Lights came out and it was all about mechs kind of situations. So it's not Briar, but like we'll take it, right? So, um, absolutely awesome though. Absolutely awesome that's the case. Um, One thing about the set though, just the timeline. I love already Rosetta. Rosetta will probably be my favorite set in the game, whether it's a success or not. Uh, just because I can fight bias to a certain point, but then it just, it's like it's just room blade shit, it's like a lot of room blade shit. And so the only complaint that I have so far, MST came out 3 weeks ago. I feel like we haven't had time to like appreciate it, right? Like they worked really hard on that set. I don't want to like all I can think about is Rosetta. I have no like want or need to like think about Part the Misfell. But I don't want that to be the case, right? The set just came out. I should still be wanting to engage with that product. But I can't. Because I'm too excited for Rosetta. Right? And so I wish they would have just gave us. I'm appreciative. Like I'm glad it's on the horizon. Like trust me, nobody is happier than I am about the set. But I just wish that I could have spent more time appreciating the work that they put into MST a little bit longer, right? So that's like and it's not even that big of a complaint. It's like not a big deal. I just would like MST to have the spotlight a little bit longer before we introduce um like the first event, the first big event with the set doesn't feel like the time to release the information about the next set. Like I don't maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. It just doesn't. Maybe they just had to do that for timing purposes, for venues and selling tickets. I don't know. It just felt like it was rushed a little bit, maybe. But like I said, not a big deal. Just giving honest feedback to the situation. Okay. One more little thing about the kind of event meta situation. And then we'll move on to kind of talk about Rosetta. Yeah, got to give people time to book their stuff, but like we knew about the event, right? We knew that it was in Tampa, the world premiere. We knew that, and I think we even knew the dates at the last Pro Tour. We just didn't know the set. So I agree, we need time to like book things, but I don't know. It just felt like forget about MST. Here's the new thing. I don't know. But one thing that I heard about Taylor, no, he didn't. Oh God, no, he didn't. Okay. If you know, you know. Okay. So I had some interesting conversations about the meta over the weekend. I talked to a lot of people, and anybody that was watching the streams before the event, I was kind of saying that I was in this lull period, right? Where it was just real mathy, grindy. Everybody was doing the whole 2-card 8s, that kind of thing. And like, it was a little tedious. And with that being said, I mentioned that I wasn't a fan of that. Right. And I had a bunch of, and there was a lot of people that like contacted me after I said that on stream. I got several messages saying like, yeah, I couldn't put my finger on it, but like that's it. That's what I've been disliking about the recent meta. Like it was fun to engage in at first, but now it's just the same grindy thing over and over and over again. But then those same people this weekend were like, we're just slapping each other till somebody falls over, right? And like, I agree with them, right? Like when I don't think many people want to sit down and do like 9 Zen mirrors in a row, right? Like that's probably not what we want. That's not like an ideal situation, right? But it's just funny that we went from like there to there. So I'm going to say something that I thought I'd never say. And I can see it now. Carol, if you see this, I don't know if you have like a, a dev Discord chat or something, you post it or whatever. I could just see him sharing it now. Oh my God, it's going to be hilarious. But I don't think players know what the fuck they want. I like, I don't know that they do. Like I'm just being honest, and this goes for me too. Like I'm being like upfront about it because I've been one of the like initiators for a lot of those conversations as far as like, you know, this is too much that, this is not too little that, you know, whatever. I don't think we know what we want because so many people were like, this is too slow. And now we're like, this is too fast. And you have to understand, like, developing a card game and designing a card game and landing somewhere like directly in the middle of two spots is like really fucking difficult, especially in the design of Flesh and Blood, because it's not like Magic where you can make things cost 2 greens and then a number, or 3 green, or a green, a red, and a blue, and then this much mana. Fab has an inherent disadvantage as far as scaling goes because the spectrum is condensed, right? Like the difference between something attacking for 4 and 5 is astronomical, right? Depending on its cost, whatever the case may be. And they can only stretch that out so far or condense it so much before it becomes like, you look at a card that's like not playable, right? Let's just look at an example. Like, you know, I'm trying to think. Like, I can't even think of one right now. But like any like, let's look at an example of like Raging Onslaught versus like Wounding Bull, right? Like one was used solely for poppers, and the other one was used in actual decks for actual play. All because of one number being different, right? Like that's the difference between a card being playable and a staple and one not being. So you have like a little bit of, you know, you have a lot less to play with. Now they have keywords that they can use to kind of like manipulate that and stuff like that. And they're very good at doing so. But to all the devs and designers of the game, I don't think we know what we want. So I'm just gonna sit back and like let them do their thing, because they dropped 2 Rune Blades, and as long as one of them's competitive, I don't care. And all I'm saying is, after what they just printed, there's no way that one of the 2 Rune Blades isn't busted. That's all I'm saying. One of them's got to be solid, right? Maybe not like S tier, but I think it's a safe assumption that one of the Rune Blades will land in A tier. I think that's a very safe assumption. We just need like Traverse 2.0, you know. Make it happen. Blue Ravenous Rabble. Amen to that. Let me get caught up in chat. Mid-range soup to aggro soup. Absolutely. What's your opinion on me casting Canadian Nats? One word. Liability. Liability. Runeblade is what we want. Isn't that right? Grass is always greener where the dogs go. Right now, I want to see his new wizard cards. Absolutely. Mid-range slow is better than flying across. Yeah, absolutely. For travel, I think players would like consistently rather, anytime they have more agency, which is like the slower games, they would be willing to travel farther forward because they think it's a higher EV. That's fair. But does that sell boxes and benefit the company and the game and like the excitement for it? There's a debate to be had, right? Give and take kind of situation. So I just wanted to share that because I thought it was very, very interesting. That being the case. So I guess let's go ahead and kind of, I've already kind of made a couple tweets on what I thought the Runeblade heroes were going to be kind of doing. Let me pull up I know I haven't switched screens yet. I'm trying to pull up Rosetta before I do it. All right, let's go over. Okay, so this is the stuff. There's already been 1,000 videos made reading you the cards. I'm not going to do all that, right? I'm pretty sure everybody is somewhat familiar with the cards that have been spoiled, right? If not, they have a very nice location on the website that you can just pull up, and everything that's been spoiled is on this one page. So you're completely in the loop if you just open this page. Do you think the quicker gameplay attracts more casuals? I think it does. I think it does because people like to do powerful things. Okay. So, basically, to summarize the tweets that I put out, I thought that Florian would basically. So, Earth in Tales of Aria had a cycle built within from graveyard to Earth, or from graveyard to deck, and then deck to graveyard, right? And that was the cycle, right? To kind of simulate the circle of life or the carbon cycle, whatever you want to refer to. And the interesting part, and LSS is very deliberate on those aspects of game design. You know, it goes as far as like, think of Ranger, right? Paying a resource to like load an arrow into arsenal. It's like pulling back on a bow, right? It's simulating those things, right? So like all that stuff is like very, very deliberate, right? So with that being said, they're not going to come out with this set and just ignore all of that stuff, right? So I think there has to be a cycle, right? Now, I mentioned that obviously with the decompose keyword here, basically it could be Florian could have the lore of where he's like destroying the forest or he's causing everything to decompose. Although that's supposedly from when the queen died, which is in this art here. So I don't know if it's directly him doing it or if he's trying to, I don't know, take over after she dies. I don't know what the story is. But there has to be some type of cycle of life. Now, my prediction is he's the decompose hero, and then she will be like the photosynthesis or, you know, whatever the next stage of the carbon cycle is. Kind of like this is the cycle. So instead of the cycle being within the graveyard and the deck, it could just be he's destroying shit, she's trying to save it. That it could be as simple as that, right? What up? Right. Decomposition, life gain, or blossoming, or growth, rejuvenation, however you want to refer to it. Du-du-du-du. Right, right. Decompose is basically her returning. Absolutely. That is correct. By the way, DM Armada did an amazing video. I think he dropped it today, and it was absolutely amazing. It covered like all the intro lore to the set. Highly recommend you checking that out. Really, really good stuff there. So there could be another keyword. It's entirely possible that would complete that thematic cyclical kind of feel to the hero, right? Now, let's start with Florian, and then we'll go to Aurora, right? So right off the bat, I know this doesn't need to be said, but he only has access to Earth cards. That's very important, right? We don't have. Where are the actual heroes? Okay. Well, basically, the hero effect on Florian is when you get 4 cards in Banish Zone, you make one of each token aura you create. You make one more. It's Mordred-Tide, basically, for any token aura you create. So, basically, the reason it specifies token is if you put a Channel Mount Heroic in it, it doesn't copy it. That would be a little insane. But everybody obviously is hyped about Channel Mount Heroic, but I don't think they understand that. I don't think this hero will utilize it. I don't understand on the surface. How are you getting Go Again to actually extract value from Channel Mount Heroic other than Swarming Gloomveil, Ravenous Rabble, and like that's literally it. Like in E-Strike, you don't have like think of the Briar deck before, and you had like Lightning Surge, Entwine Lightning, you had Snatch and stuff that you could make an embodiment of lightning to give Go Again and so forth, right? So you just don't have the Go Again package to supplement the value engine of Channel Mount Heroic. So I actually, if you have not bought Channel Mount Heroics, my advice is do not. I do not think that this hero will utilize that very well. It just doesn't make any sense, right? Let me get caught up in chat. I mean, the name of Germination. That'd be a good one. Said the young and old versions of Florian have different effects. Yeah, they're just going to scale the number. So Blitz says 4. So they'll either go to 6 because the deck size is 1.5x, or they'll go to 2 because, or they'll go to 8 cards because life is at 40, which is a 2x multiplier. So the hero ability will be the same, but it'll just be 6 or 8 cards in Banish Zone. That's of course just theory based. I don't know. But to give you the mathematical premise on why I don't think Channel Mount Heroic will be leveraged is because to play Channel Mount Heroic, it's a 2-card investment, right? It's a blue and then Channel Mount Heroic itself, right? So you have to pump 2 attacks for it to even be better than just blocking, right? You have to pump 3. 2 is like you could have just blocked. And actually with embodiments, you probably would have gotten more value blocking anyway. So really your goal is 3 attacks, or you kind of had a shitty Channel Mount Heroic. Which means you need to Go Again somewhere. And I just don't think it's going to be super reliable. And you can say, oh, but you can keep it around multiple turns. Yeah, but you can spend more cards to do that, which therefore increases the investment into that card, which means you need even more now to pay it off. So I really do not. I mean, hey Jason, I got a box of them back here. If you want to buy them, I'm just not recommending people to do so. I have all my copies I could ever ask for. I got them in foil, non-foil. I got so many. I opened so much Tales of Aria, it's not even funny. We are snapping our dragon scalers. Give and take. Yeah, give and take's a decent one. But what if we can get 3 turns out of CMH, go tall, room? Yeah, but so that I knew somebody was gonna mention that. That's too much risk, right? It's like, yeah, you can do that, but why not just block 2 cards and still do your beefy ass shit, right? Like I don't understand why you need to like invest in a pump. Just run fucking Weave Earth. Like you don't need to play Channel Mount Heroic. Just run some elemental fucking like just nimbleisms basically. Felling of the Crown, the hero effect implies go tall, fatigue, briar style, Runeblade. So one thing that I wanted to mention, and I mentioned this in my Twitter post, was I hope so much that there is some type of throttling mechanic, right? So clearly, the idea of decompose is basic, or the text on the cards, right? The idea is basically a ramp type effect, right? If you look at this, like if there are 4 or more Earth cards, which you have to get to, like you're ramping up, you get a bonus effect. By the way, this card is fucking nuts. This is literally Codex. Okay, this is a 2-card 11 or 12 every time you play it, just about. It's actually fucking absurd. I can't wait for this card. This is actually insane. Because it's a 2-card 8, and then assuming you don't have a card in hand, which is how you should be playing it, just like Codex, surprise, then your opponent has to put a card to the bottom of their deck. And specifically, that trigger happens before the opportunity of blocking. So they can't like lay down their whole hand and then say, all right, now we're going to, do it. So it's literally a 3-card 11 or 12, depending on the average value of your opponent's type of hand, right? This card is insane. Get them quickly when the set releases is all I'm saying. Get them very quickly. That's a $20 Majestic all the way. That's all I'm saying. I'm no Stackswell, but like, trust me on this one. Trust me on this. I can't wait for Wizards to be playing this shit too, boy. That's gonna be insane. Oh man, okay. Yeah, Bramble is gonna be the highlight, right? It's gonna be actually insane. What do you think about the channel tree? We're gonna go over all that. We're gonna go over all the cards. We're gonna go like what they're looking for, what they're not. So, Florian, let me pull up Fabrary, and I wanted to just go through the Tales of Aria cards to kind of say, hey, be on the lookout for this, right? In regards to certain heroes. Right? So let's just go to Tales of Aria, and we're just going to kind of like, we're going to be a little nostalgic, and we're just going to like discuss them and say, does this really fit in what the hero is trying to do? Because one thing that's very important on the hero ability of Florian, he doesn't have a free, quote unquote, way to make embodiments of Earth. Therefore, the opportunity cost for making embodiment of Earth is much higher, obviously. So, with that being said, it's very, very important. Embodiment of Earth was my favorite because I thought there was a lot more skill attached to it, where lightning just lets you do more. But like I thought there was a lot more skill expression within the embodiment of Earth, which is why I created the Earthbriar deck for the Goliath Gauntlet, like a year before it showed up at Nats. And so basically, a card like Germinate, where did it pop up? Right? It's like this card is like insane, right? Quote unquote is what everybody's saying. But embodiment of Earth created in this manner specifically is kind of sus. If we're being 100% honest, right? What's up, Clay? I mentioned you at the very beginning of the stream, Clay. It was a blast talking with you and playing you. I really do appreciate it. It was an absolute blast. Yeah, I was dropping frames for just a second there. I apologize. It should be stable now. Let me know if we're good, everybody. Should be back. But yeah, I was temporarily dropping frames. I apologize. So the opportunity cost associated with creating that embodiment of Earth token has gone drastically up. And then the problem with creating them in this way is you're investing in them before you know that you even need them, right? Because especially looking at the decks in the format, right? Like Zen as an example. There's a lot of attacks that Zen will throw where you actually can't extract value from an embodiment if your deck is built how Briar was, where we tried to fit more 3 blocks into that blue base to create 4 blocks to cover quote unquote breakpoints. With that being said, I think the way that Florian might leverage is the ability to run more offensive based non-attacks that obviously historically block for 2, and then gain a defensive posture to lean on when he needs to. So where Briar wanted to go from 3 to 4 to play a value game plan, I know this sounds crazy. I think Florian's going to want to lean more aggressive naturally, but then have the option to turn those 2s into 3s kind of situation. Because there's just not a lot of decks in the format currently that are going, blocking for 5 against what, right? Like it can be good, but like there's just not a lot of the value of embodiment of Earth is very shaky right now because it's so difficult to obtain is the biggest problem. We've been spoiled before with old girl back there that we just got them, right? But now spending cards to make them. Now this card, the Rune Chant part on this card is insane in the life game. On a 3 block blue, like, don't get me wrong, this card is insane. I just want people to approach it the correct way, right? And of course, we have cards like, what is it, Dread Triptych, that has multiple. So basically, if you're trying to lean into the multiplicative aura generation off of the hero ability, you're just going to pull up all the cards that have different instances of gaining an aura, right? 5 Earth embodiment Briar. Yeah, those were the days. So let's go ahead and pull back up the Aria cards and kind of go through and see what we have the ability to kind of work with. We obviously don't have access to Spellblade because it's specialization. Same for Force of Nature, unfortunately. We have this, but it's a lightning card. Explosive Growth. So the problem here is we don't have access to Go Again. So I think this is just a bad card that we're not going to be able to extract value from. Simple as that. Lightning. This is my favorite card in the game. Absolutely just love this card. So if you need more recursion, this is going to be, I think, the most effective way to do it. You can also lean on cards like Evergreen. I think the differentiating factor between whether Rites of Replenishment or evergreen is the correct answer on longevity and fatigue is how relevant is the card being earth, right? If it's very important for the card to be earth via maybe fusions, or I think Decompose even looks for you need at least 2 earth cards in the, whatever. So like you need 4 earth cards to get the +4. So if it's very important to meet a earth rate-based ratio, then I think evergreen will take the lead in that spot, right? So let's look at Florian on a basis and say, okay, we understand that the devs want us to ramp, right? We're trying to get cards into the banish zone. Okay, now what's the optimum way to do that? Well, the optimum way to do that is to block and then take them from graveyard to banish, right? This could be via Decompose. This could be through cards like So Tomorrow. It could be there's quite a bit of options. But like, so mentioned in chat, Tome of Harvest seems like a very risky endeavor in this deck, and the reason for that basis is Briar was cool with Tome of Harvest because no matter what 3 cards you drew, because you were halfway to an embodiment of lightning, there's a very high chance that you're going to be able to utilize it, right? But if we envision a go tall, like a 2 for 8 kind of deck, and you play Tome of Harvest and you don't draw a blue or you don't draw a tall attack, you literally just held all those cards in your hand for absolutely nothing, right? So it is a very free way to get a card in the graveyard, right? Because you are taking Tome of Harvest, you're investing Tome of Harvest, an arsenal, and a pitch to draw 3 cards, right? So it's basically a free way to get a card in the graveyard, which could be good. Yes, and it can be a brick saver, if you will, right? So it's really going to depend. I'll tell you this: I'm way higher on Tome of Harvest than I am Channel My Heroic, and it's not even close. So Pulse of Candlehold, a lot of people are going to hate on this card, but it actually does everything the deck wants to do. You get to set up your deck for the next hand. You get to fuse everything you want. The problem is you can't run the lightning, right? So this card should not be playable in Florian, is the problem. But because it goes into the banish zone, if you could, it would be solid, right? But I'm depending on it, so it's a no-go, unfortunately. Bramble Spark will be one of the best cards in Florian, guaranteed, or your money back. I can say that with a lot of confidence, that Bramble Spark will be absolutely insane. It'll be Pong, like this frame's not dropping. It's showing good on mine. It must be like just when I'm looking away. We should be fine. That's what I was saying. I was saying that you cannot play Pulse because it has lightning on it. You do not have the ability to play Pulse. I was just saying that if you could, it's good because it puts it straight into banish and you kind of cut a step out, is all I was saying. But you cannot play it. So Bramble Spark, MVP of the deck. Also, Stir the Wildwood. I'm 90% sure will be a staple in Florian just because it opens up so many lines of being able to mix in that arcane damage, create a multitude of, rune chance or whatever the case may be, and combine that damage with the hero ability to turn all modes on and turn this into literally one of the most efficient cards in the game. So I know these are just commons and rares, but go ahead and pick you up a set of brambles and stirs. I guarantee you it's just a given. Entwined Earth is kind of where we're getting on that shaky, like, yes, it's a 2 for 8, but it's a 2 block. And you have to, it all is going to depend on the Earth density on whether you want to run this card. If we're anywhere in the realm of 30 to 35 Earth cards, I think this card's worth it. It's just a 2 for 8, solid value, depending on what the deck's doing, right? It also, running this card incorporates an avenue to run cards like Weave Earth, because you get to, utilize your, this is just nimbleism for anything that says Earth or Elemental, right? So this is also 100% going to be in Florian more than, and this is what I mean when I say that the embodiment for Florian is we have the ability to run these cards that lean very aggressive, and we get to up the block value to 3 if we need an embodiment via however else he will create them, right? Because it's not just going to be on one card. There's no way. So far, Majestic wise, I would say Tome of Harvest would be worth it. I think that's a solid pickup, 100%. Everything else is just commons and rares that don't really matter. Of course, Crown of Seeds is banned, and we know why. Summerwood Shelter will be a better reinforced line, basically. What makes this card so good in a deck like the way that I think Florian will run is if you run a decent amount of fuse cards, which I don't know if they're going to continue that mechanic or not in this set, but if they do, let's look at a stir turn, right? You play Bramble, you pitch like an Earth Blue that you fuse Bramble with, and then you play Stir, right? You deal your Arcane, but now you need to fuse Stir, but you pitched your Earth card. So having cards like Summerwood Shelter are actually insane in the deck because you get to fuse with it because it's Earth, and then you get to Arsenal it because you obviously are, ending your turn afterwards. And it's just a good value card that you can use as fuse fodder, and it's not completely just totally dead, right? That's the idea of the engine. So I think that this is going to be a very solid card, depending on Autumn's Touch will just be a Earth 3 block. Probably not going to go to the reds, but definitely on the blues. This card, guys, at one point in Flesh and Blood, this card was banned. That's how good this card was. No, it had nothing to do with the card, guys. You see what I did there? No, they just wanted to weaken Starvo, and they thought taking 3 to 2 on one of the cards would really hold him down, and boy, did it not. Earthlore Surge will be a powerhouse once again. I think Florian is going to lean aggressive and just deal tall, efficient damage, and then leverage embodiments to equate to an appropriate block value instead of Briar being at an average block value trying to exceed that. I think he's going to start lower and trying to catch up kind of situation. So tomorrow Blue will be an all-star, just like it was in Briar. This puts a free card in, not a free card, in Banish. In Briar, it was much more risky to run this card because you didn't run as many 2 cost or graders. And you actually have to have one in your graveyard to resolve this card. It's not a May ability. So this card will be an all-star because it just allows you to get that in. I don't think we'll run it in the red and yellows, but 100% in the blues. No questions asked. Amulet of Earth, because we don't have Force of Nature, I just don't buy your cold full Amulet of Earths. I don't see it. You can't run Force of Nature because it is a Briar spec. Blue Autumn's Touch will be. Blue Autumn's Touch will be good. CMH will be dependent on the card pool, but I can I'm telling you, like, I'm 95% sure that CMH will not belong in Florian. I'm very confident in that. Tome of Harvest, I think, has a much, much higher chance of being a role player in the deck. But you just don't have the action point economy to get the actual value from this card. You just don't. Unless you want to play a shitty version of Briar before, where you run just like meeps and give and takes and, just generic going cards with this and a bunch of like, you don't have Embodiment of Lightning. Like, have fun, but it's just going to be like, ugh, it just sounds gross. So, Earth War Surge will be solid. Do we have anything else of note? Everybody knows about Sigil. Obviously, Creepers is going to be busted. Sigil and its interaction with the lightning one. I think everybody knows about that. I think Brian mentioned it in the interview. So that's going to be a very, I think Invigorate's a little too far, me personally. But so that's kind of like the Tales of Aria cards to look out for. I know most of it was commons and rares, but that's just how it be. The only Majestic, I think, in the Earth realm of things that's worth picking up right now is Tome of Harvest. Me personally, if you don't have a set of CMHs, I wouldn't bother. Me personally. Okay. So I guess we do need to talk about Tree. Where is Tree? Where did Tree go? Is it on like a different page? You know what? Fabrary is so good at what they do. I bet if I go to sets, there's going to be a Rosetta set. Look at that. That's why Philip is the GOAT. Because I just assume everything's done, and it is. He's just good. Okay, so here we have all the cards. So here's obviously the last piece of the puzzle, right? That Florian can play, right? So this is the quote-unquote Arcane CMH, if you will. And it's basically the exact same text for the channel. Go again, and when this enters, you get Amp 3. Now, the differentiating factor on this card, if I'm not mistaken, when it says Amp 3, I am under the assumption that it's only your first arcane damage effect. It's not every one of them. You can correct me in chat, but like, this isn't going to happen for every single event of arcane during the turn. I'm 90% sure. I think it's just the first one during your turn. Yeah, that's what I assumed. So, with that being said, it's a game closer, but it basically, the power behind this card is the power behind this card is actually just its existence. It's not resolving the card. Let's envision that Florian is like a value-based engine, 2 for 8s kind of situation with like good blocks or the ability to really lean into tempo and really push a lot of damage, having disruption like felling and stuff like that. But then you get into this low life total threshold and then boom, kills you with a rune chant from 4. Like, you kind of get that Icelander effect where obviously not as good because it's not like on a stick, right? They have to resolve a 2-card situation to even pull it off. But triggering this amp is not difficult. With Grasp of the Arknight, assuming his weapon cost 1 or less, you can resolve this, have a blue, make a rune chant swing weapon with Grasp, right? So right off the rip, on a 3-card investment, you can guarantee 4 arcane damage off the rip, right? Out of nowhere, which is kind of good. So I think this card existing will force players to make inefficient lines, right? Like, let's say they can get 4 value of offense out of a card instead of 2 by blocking with it, or by attacking with it instead of blocking with it, and they are about to drop to 2 or whatever, and so they give up the 2 block instead of dealing 4 damage because this card exists. I think that will be the value behind this card. Some people will run it, some people won't. I'm kind of hesitant on this card in the Runeblade aspect solely because you're capped on your value. Channel Mount Heroic, if I had to go again, I was able to extract multiple instances of value to make up the investment cost of the card. Whereas you can actually, from a card for card basis, theoretically on this card, you can never break rate. Ever. It is actually impossible. Let me explain. You play this card, right? It's a 2-card investment. You get 3 extra damage the turn you play it. All right? So now you're at a 2-card 3. Then the next turn, it's still around. You deal 3 more damage. At that point, you have got a 2-card 6. So you are like basically kind of at rate, slightly below nowadays. But yeah, Z, you're correct. You get the evasion. That is the value of the card. So I don't think that this card will stay or will like start in the list. I think it is a tool that will be utilized if the meta, because you don't want evasion in a very fast meta, right? I don't think you do. I think you just want maximum value. So I think it's really going to depend on the speed of the meta on when they utilize this card. But if the meta slows down, this simply becomes an all-star 100%. You cannot fatigue a Runeblade when rune chants come in for 4 damage. Good luck. So I think this will be a situational role player. I'll put it that way. All right. Let's talk about Aurora. Aurora. There's the hero ability. It's an instant. It's very important to point out, so you can activate it on your opponent's turn. If you do have an instant speed lightning card that you can play, right now there's not too many that's the case. I think the only one actually is this, that like makes sense. And you can pay 2 to create an embodiment of lightning. And you can only do it if you've played a lightning card. So basically, one thing that I want to mention real quick about how they've differentiated between these rune blades and specifically Briar is Briar, because her hero text did not say, yeah, Z, you can gain an action point on your opponent's turn. Yeah, sure, that is a legal play in Flesh and Blood to resolve Blink, but I don't think that's what we want to be doing. But Briar was able to run so many generics because there was nothing on her text box that said she had to do anything with elemental, earth, or lightning. Therefore, the card pool was enormous, and I think that's what led to the imbalance associated with her in the beginning, and of course the the pre-errata on the hero ability, right? But it just allows you to kind of just run any card at no opportunity cost. Whereas this, like, you can run Snatch, but it's not a lightning card, and that there's an opportunity cost to be paid there, right? Same thing here, right? You need Earth cards in the Banish Zone. Not any card. You need Earth cards. So we could see that the devs have kind of solved that issue to where they have narrowed the card pool, not directly, but kind of indirectly, which is very good design, right? There's not too many heroes in the game of Flesh and Blood. I think Briar's kind of the exception, where they can just run as many generics as they want and not pay a price for it. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You know, like Vincent, she has to play Blood Deck cards, or her hero ability is useless, right? Viscerat has to run non-attacks and Runeblade cards, or he doesn't make Rune Chance, right? Like, it's just, there's so many, you know, every hero is supposed to have synergies, right? Not just play good card.deck. So really, really, really good design. I'll put it that way. Obviously, both are going to be at full life. That's to be expected. Nothing crazy. So let's go and look at this really, really good card. I would say that these cards are almost on equal power level. I think that Felling's a little bit better, just because it's more consistently going to do its thing, whereas Channel Lightning Valley is still very, very strong. You're just not always going to get that much value out of it every single time, right? So, everybody knows what it does. Channel effect, 0 cost. You flash it in, deal damage, draw a card. Simple as that, right? We know about the sigil effect. You can creepers in stuff and like deal arcane damage. There's multiple ways to deal damage on your opponent's turn, draw a card, whatever the case may be. But we know that we're restricted in the card book, in the card here, because we have Go Again. But we have to play lightning cards. And that's where the focus should be when we start looking at these next cards, right? Is we have to say, okay, now, unlike Florian, anytime a hero has a resource cost attached to the hero card, most of the time, that is going to be what sets your cost curve. Okay? So, right here, boom, 2 resources. So, automatically, anything that costs 2 ain't going to cut it, right? And here's a crazy theory. I think her weapon is going to be free. I think her weapon is not going to cost anything to swing. I don't know if there's going to be like a cool basis for it where like there's a keyword called static, and every time you hit, you get a static charge, and the static charge allows you to swing your weapon for free. Or, I don't know like how they're going to do it. The reason I say that, the reason I'm dreaming that is because I think this card is insane. If that is true. However, if the weapon or whatever she is trying to do, if she's trying to go lightning non-attack to give her hero ability turned on, pitch a blue, make an embodiment, 0 cost for Go Again into weapon swing. Like, historically, Rune Blades have that play pattern. Non-attack, attack, weapon swing. That is like bread and butter Rune Blade for as long as the class has been around, right? Everybody say it. Mob, Shrill, Rosetta. Like, it's what Rune Blades do, right? But Electrify, which I think is one of the most interesting cards for a lightning deck, gets really bad if the weapon's not free. It basically becomes a card that is only above rate on a tunic counter, which, could be the case. I'm not saying that they're going to design the hero around, you know, Electrify. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is that the definition of the cost curve is what's going to dictate whether this card is good or not. On the surface, the card's amazing. Absolutely amazing. By the way, we got 370 people watching the stream. Oh, sorry. That was views. I was about to say that was insane. We got 120. I just want to say thank you guys for joining me. I really do appreciate it. It means the world. I really, really do appreciate it. So the Electrify, basically, depending on the cost curve, is going to basically really determine whether we just really have to lean on that cost curve to determine whether this card is good. Because on the surface, it should be exactly what you're wanting to do. You're playing that lightning card for free. You're adding an additional on hit and replacing, right? This is doing everything you want. But if the weapon costs 1 to swing, it's only good on tuning. Because now you're like involving a whole other resource out of somewhere. And it's not so good. Okay? So, what other lightning cards are we looking for, right? Because we want to look at ways to only blue Electrify it could because they have the alt art. I do have a couple of those. I can agree with it. And the alt art actually looks pretty cool. Amulet of Lightning is kind of sus right now. I don't know if you're going to need... I mean... I just don't know how much fusing you're going to actually do. I think the Earth deck actually has more potential of consistently fusing than this deck does. Obviously, Entwine is going to be a 3 of, right? I think that's a no-brainer. I think we'll run 3 Entwine Lightnings, no questions asked. It's just 4 go again, right? There's no reason to not run that card. I think you also run, of course, just like Briar, you run the Red Lightning Surge because it's a lightning and it's very easy to give go again. Due to all the on hits, I think Red Lightning Press is an auto include. Probably. It's going to depend on the ratios and whether you need blocking. And then Ball Lightning is good old banned. So that's not the case. That is not the case. Weave Lightning is an interesting one. Weave Lightning is a nimbleism, but more importantly, what Weave Lightning does is it allows you... I think it's going to be very important that the non-attack actions you play in Aurora be lightning. Because you always, it basically means that no matter what, you always have go again, right? Because you can play Weave Lightning, and then no matter what the next card is, or any of these, just, you know, you just have the option. Also, the interesting thing about Flash is it actually allows you, it's one of the few cards that basically gives you the embodiment of lightning, but allows you to basically carry one over as well. Because what you get the ability to do is, let's say you play Flash into whatever 0 cost swing weapon, and then after you break the chain to close your turn, you activate Aurora, make the embodiment of lightning, pass your turn. Right? And then so you're set up for the next turn, and then you can just play 2 attacks or something, or whatever the case may be. So it becomes like a captain's call that has lightning on it that allows you to activate her hero ability, which could be more important, could be less important. Just depends. Heaven's Claws is basically in the exact same situation as Electrify, right? It's basically I think Aurora has to be an aggro deck. It just doesn't make sense any other way. Simple as that. But Heaven's Claw, how good this card is going to heavily depend on the cost curve. if Electrify is really good, this card could be good, right? If the weapon is free, then we could see like a transition to 1 for 5s instead of 0 for 4s. It just depends. And you have shock. Yeah, I mean, that's basically like these become better. They become. What is the text on embodiment of lightning? Where are you? When you play. Okay. I was wanting to know if there was a window between when you play a lightning, can you make it and then it cover it, but there is not the way it's worded. So that is not on the table. So Fulminate, not worth it. And then also Flash Freeze is not worth it as well. Inspired Lightning's a little cheeky. I don't think it'll be utilized. It just seems like a really bad card. This, I think, will be one of the best cards in Aurora. If the weapon is free, I might just jump ship from Bolton. So when I say the weapon is free, there will be a condition on it, right? It could be something like you can only swing this weapon if you've created an embodiment of lightning token or something along those lines. But if that is what ends up happening, then it's just, I think Vela Flash, Arcanic Shockwave, and Rights could be insane. These two are going to depend on the weapon costing 0 or 1. If the weapon costs 1, then the value of these go down a decent amount. I think Vela Flash will be good enough to run anyway. Because just getting the ability, basically what this card, what it does is it basically allows you to do the same thing you do with Flash and just carry over your embodiment. So you get to basically play Vela Flash, then play your, let's say it's the 0 cost instant one or whatever. Oh, that's not fair because it has instant. Let's say it's I don't know. Let's just say it's Electrify. Okay, just to make it simple. You have Vela Flash and Tunic counter or whatever, and then you play Electrify. You get your go again. Then you spin your 2 on the thing after your swing. And then the next turn, you do not have to worry about. So I could see a situation where half of the Aurora deck is basically built on going off of a 2-turn cycle where you kind of like have some lines built into the deck where you can kind of manipulate your action points and carry over the embodiment to then block a little bit or just go a lot wider. So what you can do is you could do like a Vela Flash turn, and then you can go into just a long 0 for 4 with an on hit kind of situation. Because you can not make, but utilize 2 embodiments of lightning in the same turn. Because the one that carried over, you can just 0 for 4 on it, then you can play like a Weave Lightning, make another one, play another attack, and then just keep going kind of situation. So I think she will be kind of operating on like that 2-turn cycle kind of philosophy. It is kind of the idea that I'm getting so far. Of course, all of this is like super speculation because we've literally seen like 3 cards. But I think we have the most information about Aurora because I think the hero text has definitively kind of confined the cost curve to a certain point. Right? And we kind of know what the hero is trying to do. If the weapon's free, then we get the ability to run more 1 cost. If it's not, we'll keep it on a 0 attack cost curve, more than likely. Flicker Wisp. Let's take a look. Been a minute on that card. in a hot minute. If this was fused until the end of attack action cards you control deal arcane damage, deal damage that +1, then this one deals 1. So if you're on like a heavy arcane build, maybe I don't know. I don't know. Amulet of Lightning might be worthwhile. That could be the case. It just depends on how often we're at. If they continue the use of the fuse keyword. If they don't, then it really just depends on how many of these cards we're taking with us, right? I think they're going to have a little bit of fuse in the set because, I don't know. Maybe not, because they have like 2 different classes, but then everything's earth and lightning, so they have a lot more like, as far as like density, like a set per card density. I don't know. They could go a lot of directions with it. It really, really depends. It really depends. Mark of Lightning for the new channel? So that was like an old limited trick, right? Where you could just trigger the gloves. Are they lightning gloves or are they just, I forget. It's been so long since I played Tales of Aria Limited. In a minute. Yeah, you just like deal 1 damage, but it has to be a lightning or elemental attack. The problem is the slot that you're giving up. I think that there's no way you run this card in CC. Grasp of the Arknight, you're giving up on base 3 value. So no shot. No, just off the gate, like you're just giving up so much value by running this. Oh, if it was in a different slot, maybe, but like that's the big thing, right? The new Runeblade equipment we get needs to be chest or helmet. We do not want Runeblade gloves or boots because we have creepers and grasp, which is like 2 of the strongest equipments in the game. And we don't want anything that competes with those, right? We have Shark Charmers, which is great. Pick these up, by the way. If you're going to play Aurora, this will definitely be played. It has nothing to fucking do with this effect. The effect is dog shit. It's Spell Void 2. And Kano is a real deck. Simple as that. So it will be a key sideboard piece, 100%. 100%. So I would pick that up if you don't have one. Other than that, I don't think there's too terribly much else. Unless there's any questions in chat. I'm just going to turn it to the other screen. So that's kind of like where I'm at on the theory basis for the 2 Runeblades. I'm not even going to talk about the wizards because that's just not my domain, right? I know what I know and I know what I don't know kind of situation. Although I don't think anybody that plays Kano has any informational advantage on a life gain wizard. That's my opinion, but obviously with the new life gain card that says gain 1, gain 1, gain 1, there's the hero text is probably anytime you gain life, ping an arcane or something. I don't know. But the fact that they broke up those instances is very important, and it's going to point to something which, since it's on a majestic, that's a specialization, it should point to the hero box. That's the only thing that really makes sense. So basically what we know is the Earth Wizard should say every instance of life gain X. We don't know what X is. Um, just every time you gain life, something will happen. We don't know what it is. Amp one for each life gain. It could be that. Yeah, it could just whatever. Each time you gain life, something will happen. That's what the text box basically has to say. Design wise. Or the +1/+1. Unless the devs are trying to play around poison the well, but I doubt that. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to give my first thoughts on the new heroes, and kind of like what direction they were going. Obviously, I'm super excited. I cannot wait. Like I said earlier, I really wish they would have waited a little bit longer to announce it, because now we have to sit here and think about it for. I mean, I don't think people understand. I don't think we've ever had an announcement for a set and had to wait 3 months, right? Pro Tour LA was when Part the Misfail was announced. Pro Tour LA was in April? A month and a half? Yeah, like a month and a half between the announcement of MST and yeah. But now we're waiting literally 3 months. The set doesn't come out till September 7th, I think, is when it comes out. So we got a long way, and I don't think we'll hear anything. We'll hear about the Wizards at the Pro Tour, and then like nothing until kind of like the pseudo preview season where they'll spoil a couple cards at events or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to wait that long. Really don't want to wait that long. But we will see. We will see. If you have any questions, throw them down in chat. I'd love to answer them. Let me get caught up in chat while we're at it. Electrify hero ability, Drowning Dire weapon. Drowning Dire is the put a non-attack on the bottom with as dominate. I can see that. To force the on hits. I don't hate it. If I'm not mistaken, though, Drowning Dire costs 2. Or is it 1? Is it a 1 for 5? I think it is a 1 for 5. Blink, Weave Lightning. Yeah. Aggro heroes already 5 from 9 to 12 to KO 18 25. Now Zen 25 to 30. Yeah, the aggro decks are scaling pretty hard lately. 100% agree. 100% agree. Think we'll get a specific element weapon like lightning / earth sword? I think we have to, right? If you look at it, all the weapons that have kind of come out for most of the heroes, they've tried to make it in a way that only can utilize it, whether that be making it like Mystic Ninja or, Vincettes being a Vincett specialization. I think they're new converted nats. So I got a good explanation for that. And it was kind of the conclusion that we came to in testing. Disrupts people. But new has no throughput. So what was happening was we were playing games and like she was shutting down turn after turn after turn. But then, is Cockroach just playing Ninja? Because I know the blades are Mystic Assassin. Right? So I guess they're doing it with some of them and some of them not. I don't know. So new, the throughput. Basically, she would disrupt, and then we would look at the life pad and it would still be 32 to 32 or something like that, right? And then the second she didn't disrupt, it would be boom, 20, and then now news blocking, and she cannot disrupt. Okay. Okay, so I think the reason that those are just plain illusionist and plain ninja is because they rely on the hero, right? Like, yes, Katsu can run the Kakara, but like doesn't have an easy way to make Tiger, so it is basically a Zen weapon. Whereas the Mistblade could be ran in Azuri and actually be like utilized in a way, right? And then same thing for Cosmo, like just she has the best way of just applying counters, making use of like Prism could run that weapon, but it'd be a little bit silly because there's just no way to, or a lot less ways to apply counters. So I guess it's any weapon that does it, that does work well outside of the hero it was made for, they restrict it, is a better way to put it. But to answer your question on new is she just lacked throughput. The second you didn't disrupt, the other deck would have a big turn that would essentially result in an out value. And the second you got new to block, the disruption stops, and then you just outvalue them. It's as simple as that. She's not bad. I just think that the decks that are out there are, I don't know. It's interesting because the second you start running more like more value oriented plays, then the game's not about value. Well, it is, but it's not about like long-term cycle value, right? Can't, it's Mystic. I guess you're assuming to the Assassin Blade. And that's the point that I was making. Anything that another hero could utilize, like Azuri, they narrow it to the hero. Yeah, like as long as Zen's in the format, anything that's doing like 2-card 8s or anything like that just is not going to do well. Simple as that. So if you build new, more value oriented, you're just going to get blown up. And then if you build a deck that all it does is disrupt, then you're going to eventually draw a hand that does not disrupt and you die. Simple as that. Yeah, I was just wondering what good players were saying. In my own thoughts, it was all our bad matchups were meta. No, I mean, the Enigma matchup is rough, and so is the Kano match, but the rest of them should not be too terrible. Shouldn't be too terrible. Very much looking forward to Lightning and Earth getting fleshed out identities. I think that they're going to push Lightning a lot more than Earth in this set. And the thought process for that is Earth was kind of the stronger element in Tales of Aria, whereas like Lightning was just kind of overall just kind of dog shit. If we're being honest, like Briar used Surge and Entwine, sometimes Press, and then Lexi used like Press. Like that's after Ball Lightning was banned, Lightning almost wasn't an element. Period. And so I think that lightning side of things is what's really going to get a lot of love on this set, which I think will be cool. I think it's good to kind of like make up for those situations. It will be interesting for sure. But I am going to call it a little bit short on this stream because my voice is starting to give. Like I said, I'm still getting over the tail end of some stuff, and wanted to talk about the set. I'm just super excited. I just wish I didn't have to be excited for 3 months. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Um, Unban Ball Lightning. I think that card was not banned based off of power level, but rules interaction. Um, I don't know if that's a fact or not. That's just speculation. But every event that I went to where that card was legal, there were like 13 and a half judge calls every round involving that card and damage manipulation and, stuff like that. So I think that card actually got banned just because of like it causing too many problems with taking up too much of the judge's time, basically. I could be wrong though. But if that's it for the questions, I'm going to call it here. Thanks everybody for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully I'll be back to 100% on the following week. And we'll actually get back to some gameplay. Ball lightning, but it just says +1 power while attacking. Yeah, be down for it. Make it block a little bit too. Why not? Why not? But I'm super excited for the new set. It's everything I wish it could be. I mean, literally, I got no complaints. I do feel for when they announced the new set, they did. I was like, man, I feel for the ice people, right? Because like we're going back to Aria, but we're just like forgetting them, right? But then I remembered Uprising. So Uprising, they got ice, right? So fuck them. they got a set, so this just gets us even, basically. So at first I was like, man, that kind of sucks for them. But then I thought about it. And I was like, oh, they got Icelander and Uprising. So all is well. I think LSS is doing a good job at keeping things pretty even. So I really do appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for bearing with my voice and everything. I really do appreciate it. And I will see everybody next weekend. Not sure what I'm going to do for the stream. We're kind of in a weird spot where we have, Nats going on, not sure what topics to hit. The meta will obviously kind of evolve a little. It'll be interesting. We'll come up with something, I promise. But until then, take care, everybody, and thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Take care, everybody.